Hey everyone, welcome to Nerds Talk. I'm Mike,
And I'm Chris.
and today we are doing a movie review. Yes, it's been some time with COVID and everything that's been going around. Movie theaters have been shut down. However, Wonder Woman 84 is officially out on HBO Max. And so Chris and I were fortunate to have access to be able to watch the movie. And we're going to give you our review, our overall thoughts on it. Now, it's been a while since we've done a movie review, but basically we kind of go through what we thought of the movie overall without any spoilers, the same way as we do our TV show episodic reviews. And then we'll jump in and kind of go through plot points and specific spoilers and what we thought about the movie as overall. So if you haven't watched the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, don't worry, we will put up like a spoiler alert when that time comes. But until then, Chris, Wonder Woman 1984 or WW84, I guess, depending on how you want to say it. What did you think of this movie?
I find with DC comic movies are either hit or miss. I don't know. For Marvel, for some reason, they always seem to hit for me, at least. DC, there's some I like. There's some that I'm not a big as fan of. This one falls on the ladder for myself. We'll get into more why, but yeah, the first Wonder Woman movie I enjoyed. I really got into that, and I was maybe had too high expectations for the second one. So yeah, I thought it was okay overall.
Yeah, so I agree with your sentiments. It was an enjoyable superhero movie, and that was the best that I could say about it. It had moments of comedy, it had moments of romance, it had moments of action, but I felt that again that they were far and few between. There just was a lot of lull in this movie, and to the point where they're developing characters and I guess plot, but it just wasn't so gripping that it made it interesting enough, at least for me, and it kind of just fell flat. Okay, here's the kind of big bad, and this is kind of what we've got to do to stop it. And I just didn't like any of that. Like, just the choice that they made to stop it, the choice that they made like to create the big bad, like the trailers and stuff kind of talked up like a main villain, and so I was really looking forward to that. And that wasn't really like the main villain; it was more of like a side villain, which was shocking enough. Because that's the kind of villain that I was interested more of seeing, and then we didn't really get to see it as much as I expected to see it in the movie. So that was again a little bit of a letdown. But overall, like, I enjoyed the movie experience. Now, you and I did not watch this in theaters. I wouldn't recommend you go see it in theaters. Save the money, watch it at home.
Nor would I. Definitely.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't all it was cracked up to be. At least from my initial impressions there.
And I agree with you. 100% on that.
Yeah, so let's dive right in. So here's where we're gonna get full spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, stop now, come back after you've watched it. Or if you really don't care and you just want to kind of know what it's about to see if it's worth your time, then by all means stick around. So, Wonder Woman 1984.
So let's piggyback.
Yeah.
Let's piggyback off your sentiment of the bad guy, the big bad guy.
Yeah.
I felt like there was none. That was one of my biggest issues with this movie was there was no real bad guy. The guy. So Pedro Pascal. Yes. Is, I guess, the main bad guy in this movie.
Max Lord. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he's not really a bad, like, he's just a guy down on his luck trying to do whatever he can to prove himself to, he's been doubted all of his life. He's been put down, obviously, all of his life. And he's trying to prove to his son, and, like, he's divorced. He's failed in marriage. He's failed in life. He's failed in business. And he's just trying to get back up and show that, he can do something, be somebody. So to me, yeah, okay, he was bad in this movie, but not like the true villain of like comic book movies. And the fact that they had someone who is Wonder Woman's nemesis in all the comics, all the shows. The Cheetah is her rival. Like,
yes,
Batman
that
and
is
Joker,
the big bad. It's like
Wonder
Batman.
Woman and the Cheetah, right? Like, it. That is her nemesis. That is her Joker. And for her to be like a side bad guy and like also someone down on their luck and like a nobody, but like just wants to be better and maybe goes too far, but like so one of my the biggest issue I had with this movie was there was no big baddie like Thanos or anyone really. Like, it was a little disappointing. So I since you brought it up, I wanted to piggyback on that, and I think we're on the same page. We haven't really spoken about it. We watched it separately and decided to do the video without talking, so which is great. But I think we're on the same page in that aspect.
Yeah. So So I mean, with Wonder Woman, like you nailed it there. Cheetah being the most recognizable bad guy. I mean, she does fight other gods like Ares, like in the first movie, the God of War, stuff like that. You know, there are other things that she comes up against, and I guess they wanted her to have another god like, you know, something that's all powerful for her to fight, and it ended up being a stone, which was unfortunate. Like it was basically what do they talk about where gods like infuse their power into objects and that object becomes very powerful. And so one of the gods, which I can't remember if they found out specifically which god it was, I think they did mention
They did,
something.
and it was like a jokester kind of god that
Yeah,
like
like a
always,
prankster or something like that.
yeah, it took something and it was not a good god kind of thing.
That's right.
Wanted more bad than good kind of.
That's right. So his power was put in. So I'm like, okay, I don't recognize that god, but whatever. And then when Max Lord, you know, decides to wish on the stone, because okay, so I mean, if we cut back, the stone does all sorts of things. You basically, as long as you're holding the stone and you make a wish, your wish will come true. But what you don't know, what it's not stated, is that it's what they call the monkey's paw. Is that it takes something that's most precious from you in exchange without you knowing. So
That's right.
in the case of what was it? Max Lord, I guess it was. The only thing he really had, being a con man and like being the kind of guy he was I guess his health. And so him wishing that he could be that stone, it disappeared and essentially, you know, went inside him. And so now he had the ability to grant everyone's wish, and then he could choose what he wanted to take from them instead. So he had the ability to take control of that whole transaction. However, every time it did that, because again, his wish being the stone, is it was sapping away his life, his health, essentially. And he was slowly dying. You'd see like blood coming out of his nose and his ears. You get headaches and all sorts of things as the movie kind of progressed. And then eventually he decided, well, I'll just when I grant other people's wishes, I'll just take back their health and their heart and their lungs, and I'll live forever and I'll be fine. So that's kind of like the big bad was him. This essentially this stone, this type of power, which was disappointing to say the least. And
because his wish was to become the stone.
Yeah.
So like you said, to wish everyone, like he could wish everyone's thing as long as they were holding each other and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not like, for it to be a stone and like, I didn't like that at all. It wasn't another god kind of thing or like a big baddie that
it was godlike powers.
They have like,
but that was pretty much it. The power to grant a wish and take something from you. You know, magically, spiritually, whatever you want to say. I mean, well, let's kick back. I mean, I think the movie had a strong opening, kind of kicking back, doing a flashback of
like the Spartan Games kind of thing that they do, right? Like Wonder Woman,
Diana Prince at this point, right? She's
Diana, like
Wonder Woman,
as a young child, trying to kind of fast track her progression, and she competes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, bud.
I was saying, it's like the first movie where they did the flashbacks where she wanted to train and her mom didn't want her to, and then eventually she got her wish to train, and we saw a little bit of that. And this was like, okay, smack dab in the middle of that. She's been training, her mother's okay with it. Now there's these great, huge games, like almost Olympic games for the Warriors, where they kind of become, the winner becomes like the next best Amazonian warrior that I guess joins the ranks of the army or the special forces or whatever you want to call it. And so she decides she wants to compete, and she is like, what, 10 maybe?
10, 11 she's maybe young. Like she's very, very young.
Yeah. And so it's funny because you see her from like the same kid from the first movie, and she's competing against fully grown women in their prime, I guess. And it was a great moment to see her, like, how is she gonna beat these women? And like, she's smaller, so her legs, she can't run as fast, but yet she was able to fit through cracks and like cut corners and stuff and to get ahead.
She's agile. Really cool. Exactly.
Really, really strong opening. I thought it was really, really powerful. And then the whole like getting through on the horse and then falling out and then deciding to cheat, and then her being forced to like her trainer, essentially her.
I think it's her aunt, right?
Yeah, it's her mom's first in command. So I think it's her aunt. Basically, takes the spear from winning and says like, no, you don't deserve. You're not ready to win. Like, you can't win by cheating. That's not how it works, kind of thing. And it's a big moment in this film, and it's like a foreshadowing. Like, I know that right away. I'm like, okay, this is the lesson of the film. Like, you have to be truthful and honest and all this kind of stuff. And then we see that play throughout with this stone and the wishing and what is the truth
Kind of
and all
get the
this stuff.
easy way out, but yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, it is what it is. So, cool opening. We see like her in present day, which is in the 80s, 1984, and she's kind of heading off to work at a museum, right? And she's basically uh, she helps. I wouldn't say art curator, but she's basically the antiquities specialist who kind of like knows the research and background on a lot of this artifacts and kind of helps catalog them
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. She bumps into Barbara, who we see as this like nerdy nobody that works in the same museum, I guess. People ignore her. She's kind of klutzy. She's embarrassed. Wonder Woman kind of helps her pick up some papers that she dropped.
Papers.
And
Yep.
then the boss kind of comes in and says, "Have you seen this Barbara person?" She's like, "Oh, that's me. You interviewed me last week." And she's like, "Oh, okay. Like I didn't know who you were." So just kind of showing that she's literally a nobody. Nobody notices her. Down on her luck kind of
Invisible.
person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then as they kind of get to, she kind of asks Wonder Woman, like, oh, yeah, maybe we can talk or we can have lunch. And she's like, oh, maybe some other time. I'm kind of busy. And so they kind of bump into each other because what had happened was the movie opened up with this robbery, right? Before this scene happens, there's this robbery that takes place in the 80s in a mall, which I thought was really cool with all the callbacks and stuff like that. Again, very strong opening.
Yeah.
These robbers kind of break into this jewelry store in the mall, but they don't want the jewels. They said, we want we know this is a front for like some antiques and other kind of stuff. So they kind of open the back
Black
room.
market kind of thing.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
they kind of steal all these artifacts, and one of the artifacts happens to be this stone. So
That's right.
as they kind of run out with their bag, they kind of hand it off. The two thieves hand off to two other thieves, and one of these other thieves kind of trips up and drops the gun on the floor. A lady sees it, screams. All panic ensues. The guy who drops the gun panics, and so grabs a girl and decides she's gonna hold her over the railing of like a second or third floor of the
Yeah.
mall, right?
Yeah.
Totally nuts. All of his partners are
And
like, "What are
all
you
the
doing?
other,
What are you doing?
yeah,
You don't do
they're
that."
like, put her back, put her back. I thought that was kind of funny where his own partners are like, no,
Yeah,
like,
we don't do
what
this.
are you doing? Yeah, you're
But
making
yeah,
this worse.
we get to see Wonder Woman break in, bright color suit, beautiful, bright blue, bright reds, no like dull like
It's like the classic TV show type, like
yes,
the
like
classic outfit.
the Batman vs Superman was a lot more dull, muted colors,
Dark.
just like
Yeah.
Superman, and this was like, no, this is bright in your face. This is Wonder Woman.
This
We're
is
not gonna
80s.
hide our outfit.
80s bright colors.
And it was amazing. I loved it. She came out using her lasso of truth, tying guys up, saving kids and stuff because nobody really knows who she is yet. Obviously based on the fact that in Batman versus Superman, even Batman was just discovering that this person existed. So it's still like, while she's out kind of helping people, she's still like a mystery in who she is. She appears, saves the day, and kind of disappears, right? And so
Yeah.
she does a great job taking care of the bad guys. Leaves. The reporters are all trying to get news, and they say it's some sort of woman. Nobody knows who she is. She kind of heads back to her apartment. We kind of see Steve Trevor's picture and his watch, his pocket watch / wristwatch, essentially, there as a memory, as a tribute to him because he died in the first movie, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, there's a bunch of pictures of like, I guess, different wars that she's been in, different
yes,
troops and different
yes.
people that she's known and stuff like that. But obviously he's the biggest one and her true love of the past and
That's
the
right.
sacrifice that he made and stuff.
So it kind of just shows like her, like this is her day to day. She goes out, saves the day, comes back to her apartment, and leads a normal life. And then again, we cut to that museum, right? So she kind of goes to work. We meet Barbara. The whole happens, and so what happens is they got this shipment from this robbery of all these antiques and stuff like that. And so Barbara's job is to kind of catalog them and kind of figure out where they go. And so Wonder Woman kind of bumps into her because she's interested in kind of some of the stuff, and they unbox this crystal, this gem, this rock, and so it looks really bad. It has this yellow citrine, I think it was the rock type that it was made of. And so they say usually these are fakes. Real stones and stuff are usually made of like emeralds and rubies and not really citrine. But Wonder Woman kind of reads the inscription on it. It turns out to be some sort of Latin, if I remember correctly.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, and so she's able to read it, and it talks about like whoever holds this and then makes a wish or something like that, it'll come true in so much words, right? And so they're looking at it and like, oh, imagine if it was real. And so one of the other scientists kind of reaches over and grabs it and says, "I wish I had coffee," and kind of laughs it off. And then we see a wind blow, and then a guy appears with 2 cups of coffee and says, "Oh yeah, this is going to be for so and so, but she didn't show up to work today, so it's yours." And so he's like, "Oh, that's weird. It worked." And so
Yeah.
Wonder Woman or Diana Prince and Barbara kind of had this exchange like, imagine it actually did work. What would you wish for? And so Diana's holding it and she's thinking to herself, And then we see the
And
wind
she
blow her
says,
hair.
yeah,
She says, I know what I would wish for, but she doesn't say it out loud. But we kind of know,
no,
like, oh, based on this Steve Trevor thing, she'd obviously wish for Steve Trevor to have survived. Well, we see the wind blow her hair, whatnot. She kind of leaves. Barbara takes the stone and kind of continue cataloging and whatnot. And so they kind of move on. And then I don't know, is this the same day or the next day where Max Lord shows up?
it's the next day
Yeah.
because they
So
go out for dinner after.
that's
She
right.
ends up
That's
taking
right. They
Barbara
go
to
to go meet
dinner,
for
and
lunch.
yeah,
So her and
yeah,
Barbara go meet for lunch. They just get to talking. They talk about finding love, and so Barbara asks her, and she finds out, yeah, I was in love once with a guy named Steve Trevor, and all that. And they're talking girl talk and whatnot. And we kind of get some background on how much she cared about him, and that she doesn't feel like she's gonna love again. And Barbara's saying she wished she could be that person, and kind of like the life that she's kind of been going through as a nobody, and she wants to be noticed and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of get
yeah.
some character development, which is cool. It's all good. So she kind of decides to head. I guess she decides to walk back to the office. She passes by a homeless guy who's, I guess, a friend, and Barbara gives like some food to him. And as she
Yeah.
walks by, some drunken guy kind of comes out of the off the sidewalk and starts pestering her, and then essentially assaults her, right, and grabs her. And so, she's like trying to fight him off, and then Wonder Woman appears and knocks him out and like catches her and kind of throws it off as like, oh yeah, I use his weight against him. I can show you it's a cool trick. Yada yada yada. Are you cool? Are you safe? Kind of thing. So Barbara decides she continues to head off into the office to do some work at night. She goes to the office and she grabs a stone and she eventually makes a wish that she could be like Diana Prince. Because she mentions
Right.
like her being pretty and smart and popular and I don't know all these objectives, and she's like, I wish I could be like her or have what she has or something like I can't remember the exact words, but basically wishes to be like her. And so the wind blows again, so we see that wish has been granted, and then we kind of see
Yeah.
the next day things start to take an interesting kind of toll. So we're at work, and this is where Max Lord kind of comes, right?
That's right. That's the day.
Yeah. So he kind of comes, and so they're talking and stuff like that, and he's there to help invest as an antiquities dealer, I guess, or something like that. And so he wants to kind of see his way around, and so Barbara
He's
kind
like a
of
sponsor, like a premium sponsor kind of guy, like the top of the top sponsor.
yeah. And so I mean, long story short, he finagles his way, tries to flirt with Barbara. He sees a stone that he's looking for, which is in her office. He then kind of flirts with her and invites her to like this big museum gala. Diana Prince obviously shows up and sees like him like fooling around with stuff with Barbara, and so she kind of comes in and it's like, what's going on, and so he introduces himself. She makes a comment about not owning a TV, and he's like, oh, I can get you anything you want, have hookups or whatever. Like I'm this
Yeah.
big shot kind of guy. So he invites him to the gala. Diana Prince basically says like, I don't have time, like a real scientist, we don't have time for that kind of nonsense, right? Like we're all about the job and that kind of stuff. So they do the whole party thing. On the way out, we see that Barbara, I guess Jenner, spills some water, and she hops up very nifty on like a stool while wearing heels, which we found out
Yeah.
she's very klutzy in heels.
She's not very good. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's very, very like agile and stuff all of a sudden. And so we see, okay, the wish is starting to take effect.
Well, he even calls her by name, so like even the janitor knows her name, kind of thing.
That's
oh,
right.
good thing you missed that, Barbara. Like it was. I'm like, oh, okay. So now she's like becoming popular where people know her name.
Yeah, and because she slept in her office, she wanted to look different, so she kind of like took off her skirt, stretched her shirt down, tried to like change the way she looked, and people were noticing her. She looked prettier or whatever. So she ends up going off to I guess get a dress for this gala, right? So she heads off to get a dress, and in the store she's like trying on outfits and stuff like that, and she's like, I guess, feeling better about herself, and the sales lady's like talking her up and how great she looks and blah blah blah. In the meantime, I can't remember what Diana Prince does. No, this hasn't happened yet. So I can't remember why, but she for some reason decides she's going to go to the party, right, Diana Prince? I can't remember why she does, but she just decides she's going to go anyway. So they all go to the night gala, and obviously Max Lord bumps into Barbara, and they're talking and stuff like that. And so while Diana Prince is, I guess, making the rounds, some guy walks up to her and makes these comments, and it's like, Diana, I want to speak to you. I can't remember what it was, and she's like, get away from me, like I don't know who you are or whatever. And then he drops a line that Steve Trevor used in the first movie about not having enough time. Was that?
Yeah.
That was it. And so she kind of stopped. She goes, why did you say that? And then he puts like a watch in her hand the same way that he did when he gave his watch. And he said something else again to her that like made her realize like this is Steve Trevor. And so the room is doing the spinny thing, and we see the guy's face essentially change into Chris Pine. So what turned out, what happened is her wish came true. It brought his soul, his whatever, back into the body of another person.
Yeah.
So this person being like, I don't know, his apartment was a mess, so we can assume that he doesn't have his life all together, but we don't really know exactly what he does, right?
I think he was an engineer or something like that.
Yeah, I think he offhand mentioned something like that. So
yeah. But I was interested to see how they were going to bring Chris Pine back, because I was like, is the story? No, it's not before, because it's in the 80s, and they took place in the 50s or 60s or whatever it was in the first movie.
Yeah.
So I was like, how is this going to happen? And then when the wish came, and then after she made the wish, after we saw the wind, and she didn't officially say the wish, but we all knew. And then I started wondering, okay, like, is it going to be like his natural body, or like, how's that going to? Is he going to be risen from the dead? So it was interesting to see how they did that little twist on it.
Yeah, so she could see him as who he was, but like you see him later on looking in the mirror, and he's himself. Everyone else sees him as just a regular guy, as the guy. But it's really Chris Pine as, I guess, taken over his body and taking control of it, because the other guy's not dead. We find out later on in the movie, again, spoiler, that when Chris Pine dies again, the other guy's fine and well. So it's like, I guess he just went to sleep during this time. I don't know. They didn't explain it, but it is what it is. Again, it's this magical, wishy, godlike power stuff that they don't really get into much. It's just that's what they are going with this movie, apparently. But anyway, so Chris Pine's back. Steve Trevor, she's excited. So he talks about waking up on a couch, actually not a couch, on a mattress with slats or something like that. And she's like, oh, a futon. And he's all confused about where he is, being in the 80s. Everything's different. And so he invites her back to his place, and she goes, yeah, let's go check it out. So they leave. We cut over to Barbara and Max. Max kind of starts like flirting with her and saying how pretty she is and whatnot, and says, hey, I can barely hear you. Can we get somewhere private? Let's go to your office. They go to the office. He starts making out with her, then starts asking questions and asks her about the stone directly. As they're making out, he asks if he can help her figure out what it is. He has some special people he can bring it to, and she's not sure, so he starts making out with her and kind of palms it and hides it behind his back, and essentially she gives him permission to take it. Okay, so Max Lord gets his hand on it. So that's what happens there. He takes it back to his office, right? We see him kind of drive back to his place. This big, successful, rich oil conglomerate kind of guy, right? He's got all these oil derricks and all this kind of stuff set up across the U.S., and so we expect him to be this filthy rich guy. He's got his face all over the TV. We find out that his business is in shambles. He's made a lot of deals that have kind of gone south. He's made bets. He bought places for dirt cheap that other companies didn't, that passed up on land. Because he obviously didn't do his research. He thought that there would be oil and there wasn't, and so he's literally like broke. And so he's in his office. It's kind of like all disheveled. There's not anyone really working there, and he runs into, I guess, an investor who starts making fun of him in front of his son, and basically says he wants his money back. So when the guy leaves, he's very upset about this whole situation. That's why his whole plan was to find this stone. The stone is going to grant him his wish. Now, I assumed his wish was either the land that he bought produces oil, so he's rich, or just wish that he got rich. That's the assumption that I would have made. And it's like, hey, you're good, you're rich, it's all done, you're all happy. But I guess maybe he understood that there was a give and take, and he wanted to make sure that they didn't take something that he wanted. Maybe it was his son. It wasn't clear. And so his wish, when he takes it back to his office, is that he can become the stone.
Yeah, which kind of threw me off, because again, I thought it was going to be like, oh, the most impressive oil conglomerate, or billionaire, whatever it was. But then he's like, I want to be the stone, which I thought, okay, it's interesting. Not the choice I would have made, but yeah, it was definitely different.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. We kind of see him go meet one of his investors to get some I guess payback. And so he kind of goes back to him, and he talks about like how sorry he is, and he apologizes, and he's like, I wish that my company, which I believe is called Max Gold. His name is Max Lord, but I think the company is called Max Gold. And he said that he wanted it to be successful. He's like, don't you wish that? Wouldn't you wish that? And he grabs his hands. And so the guy says, of course I wish that. And so the wish comes true. He's obviously sick. His business is a success because he can no longer wish for himself, because his wish was to become the stone. So he needs to get other people to make wishes. And so he's trying to kind of essentially encourage or help them along with what he wants them to wish for, essentially, kind of tricks them out of a wish without them knowing. And then because the transaction happened successfully, he goes, okay, thanks. So because of that, I'm going to take your business,
I'll take all your shares,
and you're going to be out of the way. And cops show up and arrest him for some reason, and he kind of gets taken away. And so we realize,
fraud, tax fraud, I think.
Yeah, and we realize, okay, there's an exchange here. He gets a wish, but something bad happens. And so once that happened, I was thinking to myself, okay, so what's going to happen to Wonder Woman and Barbara? They made these wishes. What is the catch-22? And so he explains it. I think Max explains the monkey's paw situation. He explains it.
So Diane was trying to do some research, and then she comes across, I guess Barbara found someone who, like, their book was like, he had a secret book.
That's right, the Mayan civilization. That's right.
The Mayan book.
So Barbara's getting very popular at work. Everyone loves her. She's very smart, pretty, everything she wanted to. Obviously, Diana shows up to work, is looking for the stone, can't find it. She says that she lent it to Max. So Diana and Steve Trevor decide to head off to Max to figure out what the stone is. And she asks Barbara to find out where it came from. That's what she wants to know, right? In the meantime, Diana's showing Steve around, right? And we kind of get this nice nostalgia, like fish out of water of him like going around and kind of seeing, the 80s and helping him get dressed and like in the funky different clothes.
The fanny packs, and he loved the fanny pack.
Yeah, so
and like the spaceship and seeing the airplane and things like that. Yeah, different things.
So I felt like all the comedic relief kind of played on like that whole fish out of water, that charm, especially to us, like being from, being born in the 80s and stuff like that, having that like
nostalgia come back. Right?
And so I think that was kind of part of the charm of it, which is great. But they kind of did that, and then they had a really cool scene where when they decided, okay, we're gonna go to Max's office, they go do that. They find out based on the paperwork and stuff that what the stone is, or not what the stone is, but that they found the remains of the stone, and she sees on the inside that there is like some inscription of her ancient Greek gods, and she's like, oh my gosh, I recognize this. This is bad. This is an object of power. And so Steve sifts through the trash and finds out that he apparently has hopped on a flight to Egypt, and he's shocked and he's like, oh, if this is true, that means he's actually going to arrive like later today or tomorrow. He's like, how's that possible? So she decides to take him down to an airplane museum,
airfield,
looks like a hangar, right? And has like a modern day like airliner there, as well as like some of these classic fighter jets and planes and stuff like that. And so she's taking him through, and he's like all dumbfounded. He's like loving it. And so he mentions like, that he wants to not only go to Egypt, but he wants to actually fly there. He wants to like pilot and fly himself there. So they, I guess, using her clearance, decide to hijack an old school plane. He decides to grab a jet. So it's not quite like the ones that he flew. But it was pretty cool. He chose to get a jet, chose a jet specifically. They gonna go in, they prepare to take off. And then we find out that Wonder Woman has this power to make things invisible. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, they talked about...
She had an invisible...
Go ahead.
In the comics, she had an invisible plane, I believe. Yeah, one of the shows, yeah.
She did have the invisible jet, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But...
This is kind of the throwback to the invisible jet. I think.
Yes,
I
which
think
I
that
loved.
was the Easter egg that they were doing.
Which I loved it. I thought that was a really cool way of doing it. Now, my question was, in the first movie, what she references, her father's the one who put this invisible force field to keep the mascara hidden from the world. My question is she said that she tried it once before and she was able to do it to a cup. Did that happen in the first movie? Because I don't remember her having invisible powers.
I don't remember any invisible
or the comics
powers or anything.
But they're just explaining it. Well, my father made our world invisible, so I have it in my bloodline, so I can somehow do it. I tried to do it once, and then anyway, the need arose where she needed to do it, and she was able to make her jet invisible, and so that's how she has the invisible jet, which I thought was cool. Which is funny because in the comic she flew around in an invisible jet, but then in the more futuristic she just flies like Superman. And I thought that was really cool because that's addressed in this movie, which I thought was pretty fun.
That's right.
So
that's right.
They did the invisible jet thing, which I thought was cool. Them flying through the fireworks, really cool effects, of going up above the clouds, seeing the colors. And I thought it was really cool. He talks about flying, and she goes, that's the thing about you. That's what I like about you. You're all about like flight and about flying, and like that's your thing.
Freedom,
And he talks about like how easy it is. Like flying is like, is that difficult, right? Because she talks about like, you don't have to show me how to fly this thing one of these days, right? And I thought that was a funny comment. And then he's like, it's not that hard. And he talks about like the air and lift and all this kind of stuff, which is just cool. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then later on, when it kind of comes full circle, I thought that was a cool thing, very reminiscent of Man of Steel, with like the learning to fly, like using his strength and falling and trying multiple times to kind of like figure out how to do it. And so, you know, long story short, she learns how to fly, and she's able to like use the lasso to like get her some force, some speed, and then she's able to figure out how to catch the air and like how to become one with the air, I guess is how he describes it, right? And be able to fly. So by the end of the movie, she's able to fly, which is cool. I mean, that's more modern Wonder Woman. It is what it is. You know, lassoing lightning bolts is its own thing again. No comments there, but it was what it was.
That was interesting.
They're like, well, how do we make her fly when she doesn't have like, technically she's supposed to be invulnerable like Superman. She's supposed to have strength like Superman, and she's, according to the modern stuff, she can fly like Superman. She's very similar in that aspect. But I guess they wanted to have some sort of realism. Like, I guess she doesn't have the full, like, she doesn't have Kryptonian, like, alien blood and all this kind of defying gravity properties. So she'll have to use the lasso to kind of help her continuously fly. I don't know. They tried to make it realistic by making it unrealistic. I don't know the thoughts behind there, but it was cute. It was what it was. But yeah, let's get back to the main part of the story. So Barbara's out running, right? As she realizes that she's getting faster and whatnot. And this guy kind of goes and makes a comment about she runs back, and the guy makes a comment about like, I slow down or stop running so fast or something. And she realizes it's the guy that kind of bugged her in the park. So she comes back and she starts like making comments, and she's like, were you talking to me? What's going on? And so, you know, kind of eggs him on, and he kind of comes closer, tries to grab her, and she grabs his arms and realizes that, you know, she's unstoppable, right? I think there was a scene before this where she was in the gym and she realized she had powers,
she was like lifting up each weight and like powerlifting. All the big buff guys behind her just looking in awe.
Yeah,
and their spandex and stuff like that. I thought it was kind of funny throwback to the 80s exercise videotape genre.
So she like just destroys him, starts kicking him across. She starts making comments about what Diana Prince said about like using his weight against him, how easy it is, and it's so effortless. And so she starts kicking him, like, kicks him in the face, and basically is just destroying, like just brutalizing the guy. And so she knocks him onto the street, and the homeless man that she was I guess giving food to kind of runs up and goes, Barbara, like, what's going on here? And she goes, mind your own business. And she takes off running. And so then I realized, okay, she's losing her humanity. She's getting the powers. What she's losing is she's losing her humanity. She's like dark and evil and all this kind of stuff. Okay, so we're there so far. Then we find out as Diana and what's his face? Wow, I'm getting confused now. Diana Prince and Steve Trevor are making their way back to break into a garage. I think it was Max Lord's office, right? She couldn't break the lock. It was taking her a little while. And so I was like, that's weird. Like, why is she having trouble? And then again, I started to pick up on, okay, maybe she's losing her strongest thing, which is her powers, I guess, right? So her wish to keep Steve alive is costing her powers. And so later on, we find out that's the case as they make their way to Egypt. Was it Egypt? Middle East. They're going to the Middle East.
Yeah.
And Max Lord kind of basically makes this guy who, what does he wish for? He's like the richest guy in oil right now in Dubai, I think it was, or something like that. Anyway, so he wishes that like everyone would get off his land. It's rightfully his. And so as he makes this wish, you know, walls start coming up around this land, around what his land would be. We hear news reports saying that there was like some documentation that the government agrees with, that it belongs to him. And so all these people are now like blocked out of like getting access to water, and it's causing all this uproar and this like civil unrest. And so he says, I'm going to take all of your like your oil and your gold. And he's like, and he starts laughing. He says, I've already sold all that off. I don't have that anymore. He says, okay, I'm going to take your soldiers. I'm going to take your army, and they're not going to defend you for what's coming next. And what happens next is there's an uprising, right? And so they all his army kind of follows him out, and they head off. And as they're heading out, Steve and Diana Prince kind of pass the convoy, and she notices him in the car, and so basically pays the guy to take the taxi, and so they're off to chase this guy. And now we get like a Wonder Woman action scene finally after so long, right?
So since you brought that up, the second biggest thing that I had was, for a comic book action movie, there wasn't a lot of action.
No, there was not.
It was very slow. And,
there was three moments.
Draining. Yeah.
It was exactly. This one. And then there was the big one at the end. And I say big one in quotes because it was a very short-lived fight. And then there was like a smaller one prior to that, before Barbara becomes Cheetah, essentially, when she's still Barbara, but she's defending Max in the White House. There was another
Yeah.
small, cool fight scene, but it's still just, again, I was like, man, like, this is
Yeah,
Wonder
and then
Woman.
at the beginning, so like four max for action scenes, which is disappointing. And they're small, like short ones.
Yeah, so like I expected to see more of her. So she did like at the very beginning, she did like her blast, whatever. In this area, she did this thing with the whip where she's like under the tank and then like flips it to get like propelled forward. We see that she gets hit by a bullet or two and gets cut, so we know that she's no longer vulnerable. She's clearly losing her powers. She's trying to like, two trucks are trying to squeeze her and she's trying to use her legs to push it away and she's struggling to do it. So again, kind of showing that she is struggling. Her cost is her powers. Her, with the help of Steve, managed to kind of get through and stop the majority of these cars and trucks and stuff like that. And they, at a last ditch effort, she decides to swing out and save some kids that are on the road, right? Instead of like stop, because she gets on the car of where Max Lord is in, and she asks him like, "Where's the crystal? Where's the gem?" And she goes, "You're looking at it, right?" And so she jumps off, saves some kids. He gets away, and so like she's all like out of breath and she's weak, and so like Steve's like talking to her and he's realizing like something's not going right. So when they head back, and she asks, she makes a call to Barbara to finding out where it came from, and she finds out it's been all over the place, and the last place was like in the Mayan era. So she says she has a contact of some dude who claims to be actual Mayan.
Of the yeah.
And so they're gonna go meet him, but she's not sure if it's like legitimate. He's like some broken down place. So they all decide to go meet him there tomorrow. They all meet him at this place. He brings out some old book that his grandpa had that's all in like Mayan writing and stuff, like Aztec, whatever. And so Wonder Woman is able to read it and determines exactly what the crystal is and the monkey's paw and how it gives and takes something and all this kind of stuff. And so now that they've uncovered that, they're all just Steve realizes like, well, your wish was to have me. What's it costing? It's costing you your powers. Like you can't do this. And so they're making this back and forth, and Barbara's not having any of it. She's like, oh, whatever. Like she's happy with what she got. She doesn't want to lose it. And she's like, no, we have to. There's only two ways to stop it: is to destroy the crystal, or to like take back your wishes. To like unwish. Yeah. And so Wonder Woman's like, yeah, we'll have to do that. And obviously Barbara doesn't want to do that. And so they kind of go their separate ways, right? And so now Wonder Woman's on her goal to like track him down and stop him. And so we find out that Max's next objective is to go to the White House, because his goal is to see how many people can he touch at the same time to grant as many wishes as he can. Because in his office he's doing one at a time, and each time he does it,
and it's draining him more and more. That's right.
So he's like, I just need to do one massive wish. So if it hurts me, I can get all the wishes. I can heal. I can do whatever I need. Get all the stuff that I require. So he heads to the White House to do this to the president, to get his powers, to basically be like, no one can come up against him. He's got immunity, all this kind of stuff, which he does get. He then, on his way out, gets into an altercation with Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor as they're trying to fight to stop him. Barbara comes in to his aid because she doesn't want to give up her powers, because if they destroy him, then all the wishes get undone. So her goal is to protect him so that she can keep her power. So she gets into an altercation and fights Wonder Woman and starts beating her up because she is, again, losing her powers. I thought it was really cool at the end of the fight. She was bruised. She was bleeding. It actually looked like she took a beating, which was pretty cool. Yeah. Max Lord, gets off scot-free. And Barbara basically makes mention that if she does anything to like hurt him, she's gonna come after her and like kill her, essentially, right? So Max Lord takes off in a helicopter, and Cheetah like just appears like within a second, just bolts, Cheetah speed, gets into the plane, and asks like, can I hitch a ride? He's like, yeah, absolutely.
Room for one more.
Absolutely. So they sit down. He explains the situation about like the wishes, and she goes, I already got my wish. And she goes, don't you understand? Like, I am the one who grants wishes, and I decide what to take. So he says, I can take some wishes and give them to you, or I can give them to myself. So he says, what is it you want? And so she says she wants to become an apex predator, unlike anyone. So this is where it diverges away from like Wonder Woman's strict powers, right? And so she explains like what she wants. And so as we kind of he's on his way to some secret area that the president had for this global broadcasting system, so that they can broadcast to everyone's devices at the same time. This is of course in the 80s, so it's very far-fetched, but
brand new.
To broadcast everyone at the same time so they can make to reach as many people for emergency purposes. He decides he's going to use that because he talked about some particle beam forming that it physically touches
touching
everyone.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he hears that. He's like, perfect, that's what I need. They're heading down to take use of this satellite. They get there first. They are he orders everyone to like set it up and to get things going. And he's on TV and he's trying to get everyone to make wishes. While this is happening, obviously, Diana is at home trying to figure out like where he's going, what's going on, and him and Steve Trevor are in her room. She's got like her own little bat cave type situation, and she's got this big thing in the corner. And so he asks her, "What is that?" And she says, "Oh, it's like some armor." And so when he opens it, we see like some golden metallic wings. And so she tells a story of I want to say the name is Altina. I can't remember her name now. Alteria, and she talks about like how she was like the first like big Amazonian like warlord or whatever who like saved us all. She was the best warrior, and so all the Amazonian warriors gave like built her this suit to take on to stop all the men's forces so that the rest of the people could survive and get away.
Yeah.
So to essentially hide.
She sacrificed herself. Yeah.
Yeah, so we see her like covered in these big golden wings, and they're all like bashing, trying to get through, and they can't. And we see the eye of this person, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Anyway, long story short, she has this armor, and Wonder Woman decides to use it in this final battle. Right, she decides to bring it home after the whole situation with the White House and her losing, and all the wishes are starting to come true, and everything's kind of going chaos. She's tired, and so Steve convinces her that she has to let him go. Like, he had a nice life. The world needs her more than she needs him, and so obviously she's crying. She doesn't want to let him go. They actually I don't even know if they kissed one last time. They may have. I can't remember right now if they did.
I think they did.
They probably did.
Yeah.
She takes off down the street. Obviously, he's behind a pillar. We don't see it. As she's running, we see like her scars and cuts all get healed because he's obviously she takes back her wish. She
repents repents her wish or
recants or whatever. Yeah. So she takes back her wish, and she gets all her powers back, and she's just so angry, and she just uses her lasso, and she's like full bore. And as she's doing that, she learns how to fly. She's in the sky, right? And she's trying to get peace, and she hears like the voice of Steve in her head about flying and how easy it is. And so she magically learns how to fly in the air. So she's got that power of flight. She, I guess, heads home to get the armor, right? As she's going to make her last final stretch to fight Max Lord in this base. While that's happening, all the wishes are being granted, and so you hear him like, "I'll take this and I'll take this," and then he says to Barbara, "You'll get the rage, and you'll get this power, and you'll get whatever." So you hear him kind of giving certain stuff to her and stuff to him. So basically, the idea is that he's giving her everything that she needs to become Cheetah, right? So Apex Predator, rage, anger, power, unmatched agility, everything, right? And so the next time when Wonder Woman kind of makes her way to this base, there's guns shooting and stuff like that, and then they kind of stop, and she just kind of beams down and starts taking out the guys really, really cool with her wings and stuff like that. And then after she like pretty much gets to the point where she's about to break into the base, Cheetah appears on like the mountaintop. I'm like, okay, here it is. Now we're Cheetah's Cheetah. Now we're gonna get this epic fight. And the fight was just swinging around, man. The fight, other than like her breaking through the wings, which I thought was cool, moving quick behind her, slashing, coming back, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is Cheetah. She's moved. She's strong. She's got to like. It's not just about like being. It's like fighting the Flash. Like, yeah, you can be strong, but if you can't hit the person, it's really hard to do anything. So she's moving around and attacking, and so ripping the wings slowly to shreds. And Wonder Woman first being like afraid to the point where she like knocks her back and drops the wings and says like, "I'm not here to like hide behind this. I'm here to like stop you," kind of thing. And so she goes on a full offense, and they fight and exchange blows, and it ends up being this whole swinging match of lasso and electric cables and stuff like that. She electrocutes her in the water.
It was
like
anticlimactic.
Yeah, it just was like, come on, man. Like I was expecting like her like running off the walls, scratching, knocking her back, and then Wonder Woman like throwing her, and just having a lot more of this like crazy like epic fights. Maybe even like some slowdown, like when the Flash is going fast, and then Batman vs Superman, Batman vs Superman, and
Superman or Justice League,
and Superman kind of sees the Flash. Everything's moving in slow motion. Like this is Cheetah, so it'd be cool if she's moving fast. And of course, Wonder Woman can move fast like Superman, but like a cool like effect of like things moving slow and then moving fast, like some awesome effects, and they just didn't do it. And I was like, wow, this is not the best way to showcase Cheetah. And this is the only time you see Cheetah because it was up to now it was just Barbara. There was no Cheetah. There was some animal style prints on her clothes, but this is the only time you see Cheetah, and it was in the dark, in like the rain and stuff. And I was like, oh man, like I expected a fight to be in the jungle or something really cool. And it kind of, like you said, it was anticlimactic. It was short lived. Wonder Woman beats her, makes her way inside. Max Lord is like making all these wishes. Wonder Woman decides to come after him, and I guess the amount of wind from, I guess, the powers, this is unexplained. His wishes and his magic powers are causing such a force of wind that is blowing Wonder Woman back that she can't break through. And I'm like, okay, whatever. She's trying to throw her lasso at him, and it keeps getting blown back in this vortex that's being created by wishes, apparently. Again, not explained. So she, I guess, is in a corner, and she starts talking to what seems to be like Max. And what we find out is she's speaking to everyone because the camera's on him and obviously on what she's saying. So everyone in the world, you see people making wishes, evil wishes on people. Like, I wish you dropped dead and someone starts to die. And, I wish you people went back to your country and please start arresting the Irish and stuff like that. And so all this kind of craziness happens. And she's telling people that you have to, recant, take back your wish.
Take back your wish.
It's the only way. It's more important, the people and the truth. It's all about truth, right? Talk about truth, and that's what's more important, and not like what you can wish for and all these hopes and stuff like that aren't real and all this kind of
fast tracking, getting it the easy way, and things like actually working for it.
And so he's all like, "It's too late," I don't know. He says something like, "I can't hear you," or says something like that, and then she says, "I wasn't talking to you." And then he realizes that she's talking to the world, so he's getting mad that
she eventually got the lasso around
his ankle, and
leg,
then she mentions to Steve when she showed him what the armor is from, that the lasso doesn't just make you tell the truth, it actually can show you the truth. In which case, it showed him that flashback of Althena, whatever her name was, right?
That's right.
So she has it around his leg, and she's showing him the truth about his son, and so he's able to see his son running out amok in this crazy world, begging for his dad to appear, wishing for his dad to come, and so he sees them, and the things are blowing up, and he's so scared for his son's life that he's like, he wants to save his son, and then he realizes the only way he can do that is to unwish to put everything back to normal. So he's essentially does that. All the wishes start to that's a lie. He unwishes it. Takes back his wish. So everything he wished for kind of goes back. But then the other people we see on the news are taking back their wishes. So the guy who wished for his land, the wall comes down, people are getting water. The person who wishes for the girl to drop dead takes it back, she comes back alive, and so on and so on and so forth. So everyone starts taking back their wishes. We do see Barbara, who's no longer Cheetah in the sense she doesn't have the fur and the tail, because his wish, all the wishes that he wished for her have been taken back. But her wish, which was to be like Diana Prince, she did not take back. So the assumption is at the end of this movie, she still has Wonder Woman's powers. She just isn't all Cheetah-fied. Is that what you took away from this?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if she ended up taking back her wish as well.
It showed everyone's mouth saying like, "I take it back, I take it back." There was a guy who wished to be king, he took it back, and then it showed her on her face, and her lips had said nothing. So while she was like I guess remorseful.
Yeah, I can see that happen because they need her to stay as the Cheetah. Like they need that villain, and now they have a story of how it happened. Like if she took it back, then they can never use Cheetah again, because what's she gonna do? Like take some tests and try and recreate that somehow?
That's my assumption. So now that she's got this power, this invulnerability that Wonder Woman has, she could probably undergo some crazy experiments and not die from it, and maybe she'll become Cheetah that way. We'll have to wait and see what they decide to do going forward. But and that's how Wonder Woman saves the world. She wraps the lasso around his leg, shows him the truth. He decides that he cares about his son more than anything. He recounts his wish.
Takes it back himself.
Everyone takes back the wish. The powers, everything's reset. Everything is done. Wonder Woman saves the day. Barbara's kind of left out again, upset, angry, whatever. But I assume she's the only one who didn't take back her wish, so she still has her powers. And so Max reunites with his son. They have this moment about like how much he wanted him to be proud of him and stuff. And he says, "I already love you, and I'm already proud of you because you're my dad." And so they have this moment. And that's kind of like, that was pretty much like the sum up of the whole situation.
Like nothing really like she just made this big speech and then everything was solved and the movie was done, essentially. Like it was very anticlimactic and like not a lot of action, very slow at some points, and I was definitely expecting more.
Maybe he'd make wishes to make himself powerful, and then they'd have a fight, like godlike powers, and then there would be a fight, and then she has to make him realize maybe do the lasso of truth, but I still expect a battle or something. No, nothing like that
Yeah,
happened.
they didn't even battle. Yeah,
No, nothing. And I was just like, okay, that again, it was just I just felt like there should have been more there, which is fine. I mean, it's not there. Wonder Woman is appealing to not just men, but they're really trying to go with the women angle. They're doing a lot of romance, a lot of that kind of like they're trying to get obviously appeal to a broader audience than the average superhero movie, which is great.
yeah,
I love the first Wonder Woman. Ultimately, the first Wonder Woman to me was way better than this one. As much as I
same.
love
I
Cheetah
agree.
and I loved Wonder Woman and her outfit in this one was amazing, I just didn't have that like, oh, this is awesome. Like when Wonder Woman gets that shield and she runs up in the war and she's like taking everyone on, like this is Wonder Woman. This is awesome.
Yes.
The first scene, the opening of the movie, the fighting them all, cool. You know, yeah, this is one where I'm like, hey, this is just a warm up. But I was like, no, that was like the climax because the
Yeah.
other kind of fights had a couple moments, like the flipping of the tank thing to get momentum, and then the cheetah fight. Okay, like I just
Yeah.
it just fell flat, and it could have been way better than it was ultimately. But hoping that the next movie will be able to redeem itself. But I mean, that was pretty much the movie, right? Like there was a post credit scene
There
of
was.
the original Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, who showed up,
That's
who
right.
is the Athena, because Diana Prince said that she came to America looking for her because she believed that she found her armor, that she is alive somewhere, right? So she's looking for her, and so it's funny that she was the first warrior, she was the first Wonder Woman. So it's cool that she's
That's
playing
right.
this person, and so she's out in this carnival, and this big pole falls over, and she like grabs it with one hand and saves like a person. She's like, "Thank you so much,"
And a baby. Yeah.
and saves the baby. And she turns around, and it's basically the original Wonder Woman who is playing
That's
Athena.
right.
So we know that she'll
Yeah.
probably show up as part 3. Wonder Woman's going after her longer. Cheetah might show up as another main villain. Hopefully, we'll have to wait and see how they do that. But I don't know, man. I mean, that was the movie as a whole. Had some ups and downs. I just felt like the ups were not as high as they could have been, and the downs were. It
More
was
than they should have
very
been. Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff in between that just kind of felt like okay, kind of let's get going.
Fillers.
Let's get to something. Yeah, a lot of filler, and I was just. I wish it could have been more than it was. But Chris, I've been speaking a lot. I mean, why don't you dive in here? What were your final
Yeah,
thoughts?
definitely. No, it was I kept waiting for it to be like, okay, now like all the slow stuff's going to the love story, which is fine, but it was like a really dull love story. Like it was like super, super dull. They already went through the love story in the first movie, but it was more action packed and more exciting, and the way that they worked together. I don't know. It was just like you said, I was expecting more, and I kept waiting for it to go to the next level, next level, next level, but it never happened. And when it did seem like it might go, it was very short lived, and then back to a slower pace. So it'll be interesting to see how they move to the past. I like the little Easter eggs with the invisible jet, the original Wonder Woman being casted as the first Amazonian woman warrior. The outfit, the throwbacks to the 80s things. I think I saw one scene. There's like a Ghostbuster poster as she's like running, because that came out in '84. So
Yep.
I thought that was kind of cool. So they kept it true that way. But yeah, overall, a few good things, a few comedic relief parts, but yeah, nothing. Like you said at the beginning, I would suggest people save their money and just watch it, as a rental or at home, and not go spend the money to see it in the theater.
Absolutely. And did you notice that for the majority, the only thing that she used was her lasso?
Yeah,
She used her tiara
no sword.
once. She used her tiara
Yeah.
once as the boomerang as
To
it
take
is.
out cameras.
I expected it to be used more than that in the film because it is a weapon that she uses. And then her bracelets, which is supposed to stop bullets. Yeah, she was weakened, so she tried to use it, couldn't do it, so used the lasso to do the same job. Okay. But then it was like that was it. She did the whole like explosion thing once, and I'm like, man, like I just felt like that Wonder Woman has all this other stuff that she can do. Plus, we've gotten used to her using this sword and shield from the first movie, even into the later Batman vs Superman, and she was
That's
completely
right.
absent with it. I was like, even I understand I don't want her to be like a Captain America running with a shield, and that's fine. But like she is a warrior, so she could have had a spear, she could have had other weapons she could have pulled out, or
That's
like
one
she's
of her
in the
big
mall.
things, though. Like,
There's a mannequin, she grabs like a weapon to use it and then puts it back. Something, right? Just the lasso for the most part, which had some cool applications, but just again, it was just like that's all you're doing. It's like a one-trick pony. Where's all the other stuff that Wonder Woman can do? And I'm like, great, she learned how to fly now. Awesome, that'll probably come into whatever in the next movie. And she used her tiara once. Like, yeah, okay, she can use it as a boomerang, but it was just there's just so many more applications she could have maybe used it when she was fighting with Cheetah. Threw it around to try to get Cheetah from behind or something. Like just somehow incorporate the different abilities to like take down this supposed amazingly great opposition for her, and it just again, it just wasn't what you or I expected. Clearly,
Yeah, and to use the cheetah as like the I felt like it was kind of a waste of bringing the cheetah into this film. If they're going to go this route, they could have just used a nobody or lesser known character and save this for like a big like
but
one on one. This is the big antagonist.
what would have drawn people to see the film though? If it wasn't that promise of like, oh, the cheetah's in this film, it's gonna be an awesome fight. If it was like, oh yeah, there's a big baddie, we're not gonna say who it is. There's leaks about Pedro Pascal being a bad guy, and then rumors and stuff coming out about like, oh, it's like some wish stone. Like it just would have been even worse. Like at least I think it was like even. I mean, the fact that they spoiled the reveal of Cheetah in her full costume in the trailer, I was like, if that happened like halfway through the movie and you see her throughout the movie, that's fine. But you only see her that one time at the end of the movie. So
Yeah,
that
like
big
the trailer
oh,
made it
she
seem
actually
like she was a
becomes
big,
yeah.
yeah, like
Because I was thinking, okay, if they're showing it in the trailer, it's because you're not just going to see her once, you're going to see her throughout this movie. So they're going to get that over in the beginning. But the fact that that was the end of the movie and the whole movie, you're like, when's Cheetah going to come out? When's Cheetah going to come out? When's Cheetah going to come out? And then you see it at the end. That could have been an awesome surprise, especially if they didn't show it, because then you might say, oh, they're just setting up Cheetah. She's not going to become Cheetah. And then surprise, she becomes Cheetah at the end, only to, again, potentially set up a feature film. But man, it just, I don't feel like they did the right things. They did a lot of character development, which is what a lot of people want. Reasons for why characters become the way they do, their motivations, and I get that, and they had that in spades. But I still felt like there just was not as much action for a superhero movie. And just the villains just didn't live up to what you would expect a Wonder Woman style villain to be.
Yeah, you're like a cops and robber kind of villain, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So I don't know. Here's hoping that the recut of Zack Snyder's Justice League shows a lot of
4-hour cut.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I mean, there you have it, folks. And Chris, I mean, now that we've talked about spoilers, would you recommend this for people to watch this movie?
If you have nothing else to watch, I would recommend it. Or if you're really big into like Wonder Woman and the little Easter eggs and want to watch all the DC and big DC fan. I mean, I'm a big fan of Wonder. So I like DC as well as Marvel. I've loved Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
Gadot. Perfect Wonder Woman. I think she's a great cast. She's always been great. So I love that. The casting has been great. The action's usually been great. And I love that she's been in 3 movies with Justice League, Batman versus Superman, and her own movie. But this one would be the fourth, the last one in the line on ratings for me for her.
Yeah. So I agree. As a superhero fan, you want to watch at least once to be in the continuity. I mean, the continuity that is DCU, which right now is not the best.
Yeah, even right Aquaman was.
Yeah,
like second. Yeah,
it was what it was. So do I think you should watch the movie? I think it's great to watch. Do not spend money on it though. If you can find a way to watch it for free, it becomes available on Netflix and stuff, then absolutely, get some popcorn, sit down. Realize it's not going to be a phenomenal superhero movie. It was enjoyable watching it once. Yeah. It's not a movie I don't want to watch 3, 4, 5 times. And I've watched it twice because my kids wanted to watch it, and I was like, oh no, I have to sit through this again. And believe me, when I knew that there was only a few action scenes, it was that kind of like, man, like I just can't sit through this movie again. Like I enjoyed it, but that was it. Like I'm usually a guy who can watch movies over and over, and this was one of the movies that I was happy to be done with it. Like I watched it, enjoyed it. Let's move on. I don't want to go back.
My kids want to watch it as well, but I'm like, you guys can just watch it on your own, I think. Yeah. And I'll check in every so often to see how you're doing. But yeah, it's not one I want to watch again.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's our review on Wonder Woman 84. Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts? If you've seen the movie, drop a comment below. Do you agree or completely disagree with us on this movie? Did you absolutely love it? Did you think it was everything you expected it to be? Were you disappointed like we were? Let us know. Drop a comment below. Shoot us an email at nerdstalkinfo@gmail.com. As always, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and as always, friends, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.